In the ever-evolving landscape of modern filmmaking, where blockbuster franchises often dominate the conversation and streaming platforms dictate release strategies, Paul Thomas Anderson emerges as a steadfast defender of originality. The acclaimed director, whose latest project one battle after another has captivated audiences and critics alike with its raw intensity and unflinching exploration of human frailty, recently voiced a passionate rebuttal to the naysayers who deem 2025 a lackluster year for cinema. Far from echoing the industry's perennial chorus of complaints, Anderson insists that this year has been a veritable feast of daring, original works that push boundaries and reinvigorate the art form. His perspective isn't just optimistic. It's a call to arms for cinephiles to recognize the vibrant undercurrent of creativity bubbling beneath the surface of what some perceive as a stagnant Hollywood machine. Anderson's comments, delivered in a candid interview with Le Monde, cut through the noise with characteristic bluntness. The whole industry is constantly complaining. "The sky is always falling," he remarked, his tone laced with the wry exasperation of someone who's navigated the highs and lows of Tinseltown for decades. It's a sentiment that resonates deeply in an era where box office metrics and algorithm-driven content often overshadow artistic risk-taking. Yet, rather than dwell on the gloom, Anderson pivots to celebration, rattling off a roster of films that, in his view, exemplify the year's bold spirit. He name-checks Eddington, a cerebral sci-fi thriller that delves into the ethical quagmires of artificial intelligence with a philosophical depth reminiscent of his own Magnolia. Then there's Weapons, a taut political drama that dissects the machinations of power with surgical precision, drawing parallels to the shadowy intrigues of the master. Not to be overlooked is Begonia, a genre-bending satire that skewers corporate greed through the lens of absurd insect espionage, blending humor and horror in a way that harkens back to Anderson's playful yet profound inherent vice. But Anderson saves some of his highest praise for the prolific output of fellow auteur Richard Linklater, whose dual 2025 releases, Nouvelle Vague and Blue Moon, stand as testaments to the enduring power of independent storytelling. Nouvelle Vague, inspired by the French New Wave, reimagines romantic entanglements in a fragmented, non-linear narrative that captures the fleeting nature of love in the digital age. Meanwhile, Blue Moon takes a more introspective turn, following a jazz musician's nocturnal wanderings through Austin's underbelly, echoing Linklater's signature blend of dialogue-driven realism and existential musings. Anderson doesn't stop there. He highlights Sentimental Value, a poignant family saga that explores inheritance and identity through the eyes of a multi-generational immigrant household, and Marty Supreme, an upcoming release that promises to dissect the underbelly of competitive ping-pong with the same obsessive fervor Anderson brought to oil wildcatters in There Will Be Blood. "Whoever wants to start complaining about movies right now needs to cool it," Anderson asserts, his words a gentle scolding wrapped in enthusiasm. He even throws in a cheeky nod to Sinners, a supernatural horror flick that's been whispered about in festival circuits for its innovative blend of Southern Gothic folklore and psychological terror. "You have to mention that one, otherwise you're a criminal," he quips, underscoring how omissions in this bountiful year amount to cultural negligence. This litany isn't mere name-dropping. It's Anderson's way of mapping out a cinematic ecosystem thriving against the odds. In a year marked by labor strikes, budget overruns, and the relentless churn of superhero sequels, these films represent a counter-narrative, one where directors are reclaiming narrative sovereignty. Eddington, for instance, stars an ensemble cast led by a method-immersed lead who spent months studying quantum mechanics to embody a physicist unraveling the fabric of reality. Its visual style, with sweeping drone shots over desolate labs and hallucinatory CGI sequences, challenges viewers to confront the blurred lines between science and spirituality. Weapons, directed by a rising indie talent, employs long takes and improvised dialogue to immerse audiences in the claustrophobic world of espionage, where every whispered conversation could be a betrayal. Begonia's director, drawing from Korean webtoon aesthetics, infuses the story with vibrant, pop art visuals that make the film's critique of capitalism as visually arresting as it is intellectually sharp. Linklater's contributions further amplify this theme of reinvention. Nouvelle Vague pays homage to Goddard and Truffaut while updating their iconoclasm for the TikTok generation, using jump cuts and meta-commentary to question the very act of watching films on fragmented screens. Blue Moon, shot entirely on location in dimly lit bars and rain-slicked streets, captures the improvisational jazz of life itself, with actors riffing off each other in scenes that feel alive and unscripted. Sentimental Value tugs at the heartstrings with its tender portrayal of cultural clashes, where heirlooms become metaphors for lost languages and unspoken traumas. And as Marty Supreme gears up for its premiere, Early buzz suggests it will elevate table tennis from niche sport to Shakespearean arena, exploring themes of ambition, addiction, and the American dream through sweat-soaked rallies and fractured psyches. Of course, Anderson's advocacy isn't blind to the challenges plaguing the industry. He candidly addresses the elephant in the room, the breakneck speed at which films are shuttled to streaming services. Do I think things get put on streaming too fast? Yeah, I do. I think that's a drag. I think a lot of things that happen in Hollywood are self-inflicted wounds, he admits. This frustration stems from a deep-seated belief in the communal magic of theaters. The shared gasps, the collective laughter, the way a film's impact lingers when experienced in a darkened room with strangers. Streaming, for all its accessibility, often dilutes this alchemy, turning epics into background noise for multitasking viewers. Anderson's own One Battle After Another bucks this trend, having been released with a deliberate theatrical window that allowed audiences to absorb its sprawling epic on human resilience. The film, a mosaic of interlocking stories set against the backdrop of a Midwestern town battered by economic despair, features standout performances that demand the big screen scale. Leonardo DiCaprio, in a role that reunites him with Anderson after The Master, delivers a tour de force as a beleaguered everyman grappling with memory loss and moral ambiguity. His pivotal scene at a payphone, fumbling with a forgotten password amid a torrent of bad news, encapsulates the film's theme of battles both internal and external. Moments of vulnerability that hit harder when projected larger than life. The praise for One Battle After Another has been effusive, with Jennifer Lawrence emerging as one of its most ardent champions. The Oscar winner, fresh off her own string of boundary-pushing roles, described the film as nothing short of revelatory. This is the best movie I've ever seen. This is One Battle After Another.